is it. Like, I gotta, give it my all, right? But,
what you just said is very funny, man. It is so funny
mhm.
what like a little thin piece of material, what a difference that little thin piece of material makes that curtain.
And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another episode of the Dropkick Podcast. Today, I'm joined by TJ Wilson, aka Tyson Kidd, for round 2 on the Dropkick Podcast. And last time we spoke early in the pandemic, we talked about wrestling and mental health, but this time around, I wanted to speak on your supplement company, Workhorse Fitness. And also, I just wanted to catch up, man. So, how are you doing? How has everything been?
Good, man. I know I'm in maybe a different circumstance than obviously a lot of people, and during this pandemic where I touched upon it last time, where I've been lucky, I've been able to work, and I haven't been able to, I haven't, had to suffer as much as some of my friends that I've seen. So I can't complain, man. I definitely can't complain in terms of how it's going. With how crazy everything else is everywhere else, I definitely can't complain at all.
Right? We thought like everything would have been fine with the summer, but like things got extended, and then the Thunderdome happened. But it's weird because like it gets darker earlier now, right? Like seasonal depression is a thing again.
I know, yeah. And then also then it's flu season right now, so it's people are gonna be not sure if they have the flu or do they have COVID, and unless they're being tested all the time.
Absolutely.
Then they're not going to know, and it's just going to be. This is the. I was definitely not looking forward to this, but I was looking ahead to this in terms of like once we got to like August, September, and it was just still kind of the world we were living in. I knew like flu season was kind of coming around the corner, and it's gonna cause interesting spike in numbers and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. But how do you deal with seasonal depression? Because I know some people have like, coping mechanisms and to work out. But how do you deal with it personally?
Definitely a workout helps me. I think it's literally something I don't tan in tanning beds anymore, but it's something that I definitely did when I was in Canada. Obviously it was kind of a thing in wrestling. Now everyone tricks of the trade, but everyone's using spray cans and stuff.
Yeah, everyone.
But back in the day, it was all tanning beds, and I think it helped. I think it helped a lot with seasonal depression, with like it getting dark out and it being cold out in Calgary, especially. I think, as weird as that sounds, I was just talking about this with Morris in the locker room.
Oh, really?
Yesterday about I've been. Teddy's dad owned a gym and had a tanning bed. So like even before I've ever worked out, we would kind of go in tanning bed just to add a little bit of color. Like I mean, man, it was the early '90s and we didn't know what the hell we were doing. And I've been very lucky. I had a mole that I had to get checked out earlier last year, but right after I stopped tanning. I'd stopped tanning in the tanning bed. Decided that I've been doing that for a long time. I'm done with it, and. My massage girl noticed the mole. Everything was good, but I was like, "Oh my god, of course!" Like,
of course,
all these years. But no, it's otherwise, man. I've been very lucky in terms of 13 years I've lived in Florida.
That's great, man. Yeah,
which helps a lot of sun. But even like yesterday when I drove to Orlando, it was like rainy out. It rains a lot here.
Yeah.
But luckily, the rain is kind of quick. It's really hard and really sudden, but then it kind of clears up almost as quick as it comes, and then it's almost sunny again. But I definitely get like the cold and the darkness being on the road. And dude, I spent. Have you ever been to BC?
No, I haven't.
I spent one winter there, and like it was a lot more mild than Calgary in terms of the weather, and it was barely snowed, and it wasn't that cold. But it was like. Man, you wouldn't see the sun for like 2 or 3 weeks at a time.
It's weird, man. Yeah, like over here, like in Toronto, like it gets dark around like 4:00, 4:30, and I'm like, like sometimes, like some days, like I have those days where I'm like, I don't want to get out of bed, and then it's like, I haven't even seen like the sunlight today. You know what I mean? And I'm like, did I even like, like I wasted my entire day, and it makes me feel like, if I'm not waking up at a certain period of time and getting these things done, then it's like, like I don't have that motivation to keep moving forward. But it's like you gotta wake up at a certain period of time, to make sure like you make these deadlines, you make these things, and you gotta make sure you're on top of your game.
Catch a little bit of that daylight to help you kind of like feel that it's the day. You know what I mean? I get that. Calgary, I've always been lucky. I didn't realize till I didn't live there anymore, but like we have really long days in Calgary, and we have a lot of sun. Like we get the sunny. It'll be -30. It'll be freezing cold. Don't get me wrong, but it'll be sunny out. And I didn't realize that till that first winter I spent in BC, and I was like, man, I can't believe that. I was like, just 2 or 3 weeks in a row with no sun for that many days is crazy to me.
You can't go that long, because I think I was talking to a friend yesterday, and like he was kind of down because he was like, like the sun was out, everything was good, and then once it gets dark, it's like your mood completely changes, and it's like it's so true. Like, but it's like what can you do, right? Like you just gotta times, make work these times. But you did mention working out, but how do you get, how do you find that motivation within yourself to, keep hitting the gym during these times?
So I'm kind of funny the way that I'm wired. I know that there's plenty of days that I could easily maybe trick myself to not working out that day. And like even like yesterday, I know this is going to air next week or whatever, but yesterday I had to wake up early. It was our last show at the Thunderdome in Orlando. Yeah. And I had to wake up early to work out before driving to Orlando for Raw. Oh, yeah. And I woke up, I was tired, and I was like, there's a little voice in the back of my head saying, like, just work out tonight when you get home. And it's like, no, let's get this workout started now. Once I get started, I can be a bad procrastinator, but once I start something, I'll see it through. And that's just how I've always been wired. So I always know that, like, as long as so now I have a gym in my garage. So now it's as simple as me just walking to my garage and then getting things set up. And I know that, like, when I do my first couple sets, it's going to kick in and I'm going to be good to go. 100%. Before, obviously, it was a drive, and it'd be like, okay, once I get in this car, it's on. Time, and then so like I'm one of those people. Even if I know that, like, even if I don't feel like training that day. I know that, like, once I start, I'll feel so much better, and it's gonna, and I'll see it through. I'll finish my workout. I've never mid workout just stopped training and walked out of the gym for no reason.
Absolutely. I think the biggest part is people kind of slack on that part. You mentioned, like, because I think the biggest challenge is actually going to the gym, because people will actually work out, but it's like getting there, doing these things, meeting these deadlines, and like. I think once you're in that zone, like, you just gotta, like, you don't stop, you know what I mean?
And that's the thing is, like, we all have our own little tricks. Like, for instance, I don't know if, like, you've seen on, like Kalisto's Instagram, but he's in, like, phenomenal shape right now. He's always been top notch. Yeah, and, like, in the last, like, few months, he really focused on, like, dieting and really kind of pushing himself a little bit extra. And I was eating with him. He came and trained in the ring the other night, and we went to eat after. And he, like, even for him, he's just like, I like taking little ideas from everybody, because we all have good ideas. And I think I have good ideas, but I know that I don't have all the ideas. Yeah, all the ideas, yeah. I like taking things from everybody. And he was just talking about, like, little things he does. Like, before he goes to bed, he does, like, 5 minutes of, like, almost a stretch, but almost like a holding in a static position and kind of getting a little pump for his own, like, mental, to feel good before he goes to bed. And then when he wakes up, he does, like, the same kind of thing. And he kind of does these little, like, I guess, little mini workouts kind of throughout the day. And he also does, like, his big main workout, but he does a lot of stretching, and he does these little static holds, like, throughout the day to just kind of keep himself, like, motivated and obviously, it's working. He's in the best shape, I think, of his entire life.
100%. I think, meditation also helps, because, like, a lot of these guys, like, before a big match, like, let's just say, they need to calm the nerves down, and you got to meditate. And, like, that's helped throughout a lot of, like, we've seen that, guys like RVD, Dolph Ziggler, you know what I mean? So I think, like, it's all there, but, you just got to come to terms with it at the end of the day. I agree. Right?
A guy like Randy Orton is very big. Like, I've seen Brian talk about it in interviews a lot, Daniel Bryan, but, like, Randy's a lot of us are, but Randy's very big on all his, like, pre-match rituals of warming up. Like, I have never seen Randy not be, like, fully warmed up before he goes out there. Like that's just, and it, yeah, it's physical, but all those things combined become also mental preparation.
Mental preparations.
Yeah.
Because I think you know, once you walk through that curtain, it's a totally different person. Because like there's like thousands of people, you know, and like that click kind of goes off in your head. You're like, okay, like this is it. Like I gotta, you know, give it my all, right? But you know,
what you just said is very funny, man. It is so funny what like a little thin piece of material, what a difference that little thin piece of material makes that curtain. When you to be on one side of that curtain and be on the other side of that curtain.
Other side, yeah.
It can be two entirely different. It'll be the same person, but it can be two entirely different people.
Exactly, 100%. You know, when Savage used to be backstage, like I heard these stories all the time, and you know, he would just be kind of quiet and stuff, and then once he would walk through that curtain, like it'd be totally different now, someone else. You know what I mean? And like colorful and a madness and all that crazy stuff.
Yeah,
but
and you know, I've heard a lot of stories of Eddie Guerrero, the same thing.
Eddie too, yeah.
And it's funny. It's just funny to think about. Like I now being a producer, I know I used to experience it myself. Now as a producer, I see it a lot, and I work a lot with the women, and to see them kind of behind the curtain, and then the second the music hits, even the transformation that takes place, and then like, and they go out there and kill it.
Yeah.
They go kill it, and like, it's like how'd you? It's not how. I love the process of it, but it's so funny to watch somebody kill it, and 20 minutes prior to like having this awesome match, you know, 20, 30 minutes prior to, you know, seconds before they went out, they were like nervous.
Nervous, yeah.
And were like looking at me and like, TJ, I can't do this. And I was like, yes, you can. You're good. Yeah, and then they go out there and for 30 minutes, like tear it down. It's so funny to see, man. It's so funny.
It's a crazy process because I think, you know, now you're on both sides of like the fence. You know, you've been a professional wrestler, you've wrestled in the ring, you've been in that position, and now you're producers. You're like, yo, I can see why a Sasha Banks would be nervous or why a Bailey would be nervous, and you're like, no, like you've killed it, you've main evented, you know, shows, and you know you've got what it takes. And, you know, we've seen that with the women, and it's great, man. Like, you know, but you know, you mentioned working out, and I did want to ask. Speaking of buy your supplement company, which I did mention, called Workhorse Fitness, which you can check out in the description. What was the concept behind this? Like, how did you come up with the idea and the name and the branding?
So, it's funny. A friend of mine, he was kind of like talking to some supplement companies about. He was kind of handling it for me, like to, you know, almost like a sponsorship or something, and And then I decided, like, with him, we decided together, like, well, why not maybe start my own and maybe help me out in terms of, he'd be my partner, and we, you know, he does a lot of the actual physical shipping and the storage and stuff like that. And then it was a cool process. It became a lot of fun in terms of like, I can't draw, I'm sick, man, and I probably can't even do that.
So I can't draw either.
Come up with the logo and like. And I wanted to have the best. I wanted to have the best ingredients in the supplements. I didn't want to have a lot of filler, and I didn't want to have a lot of kind of like wasted stuff. And I didn't want a lot of like B or C grade ingredients. I wanted all like
top notch stuff,
all like supreme stuff, and so it was a process in terms of like trying out different things. Like now we have a new pre-workout on the way that has a bit more. It's a bit more stimulant heavy. The other one that I have, the other pre-workout doesn't have. The other one has a lot of caffeine, but doesn't have a lot of other stimulants. And I think a lot of people like that. But there are obviously a lot of people who also like that stimulant, you know, kind of feeling before a workout, where your face kind of tingles a little bit from the beta alanine and things like that. So, and then where the name came from, it came from you know, same as my wrestling. It was funny. The true origin of the name was I was on SmackDown, and I'd be wrestling on like one time on SmackDown, and this is a little bit later on, but at one point we'd filmed Superstars. Oh, sorry. So this is actually not later on. Later on, main event. But at one point we were filming still NXT, Superstars, and then SmackDown on Tuesdays. And there were a lot of occasions that I'd be booked on Superstars and NXT, or Superstars and SmackDown, or NXT and SmackDown, and there were a couple of occasions where I was booked on NXT Superstars and SmackDown, all three in a night.
Oh yeah.
And so those guys were on Raw, the Nexus. Wade Barrett. They switched over. They came to SmackDown and then made the core.
Oh, so that was 2011, right?
Yeah. So Wade was looking at the sheet, at the lineup, and I won't do a bad impression of Wade right now. His voice is very cool. I don't want to butcher an impression, but he looked at it and he's like, "Damn, TJ, you really are." He's like, "You really are a workhorse." He's like, "You got 3 matches tonight?" And I was like, "Wait, this is like," I said, like, "Stick around for a few weeks. Like, this happens. Like, I don't know why."
I'll steal a show. No big deal, right? Like,
and so he's the one who kind of just said it that day in the locker room to me. And I remember like seeing like prior to that, I remember seeing like I've seen other interviews where people kind of referred to the Intercontinental title as like the Workhorse
title. Yeah.
And then Triple H said it on his DVD, I believe.
And he did,
when
yeah.
Wade kind of said it, I felt like, well, this makes a lot of sense. Like, this makes a lot of sense if I'm wrestling 2 or 3 times in a night. And then you fast forward a little bit to like the NXT tapings at Full Sail, and there were a few times where like I'd wrestle 4 matches in a night there, and before drive home to Tampa that night, like
beat up. I think you spoke about this on. Yeah, I think you told us like on our first episode we did together. You told us you would tape like a lot of matches in one go, and like you would hear your music all the time, like playing. You're like, "Yo, I'm tired of this." You know what I mean? But yeah, man, it's crazy.
I think I said this last time too, but one time it played 7 times in like under 4 hours, man.
Yeah.
And that was literally the next time you see me in NXT, I come out with headphones. Literally, all right, I've had enough. I've had enough of this music.
I don't blame you, right? But, you listen to your own stuff. But, while working out comes, of course, a great playlist. Everyone needs a great playlist. But at the moment, when it comes to you, what's on your playlist for the gym?
Oh, man, it's always a lot of rap. A ton of Tupac. Lately, it's been, I really like Jeezy's new album. I think he released it last week or the week before.
Yeah.
I don't even know the name of it at the moment. So anyway, it's a good album. It's great. I'm a big Jeezy fan. The last year, it's funny. I really got into a lot of Obi Trice's stuff. Then of course, always the usual suspects are there: Biggie, 50 Cent,
Eminem. Just a lot of rap, But what's your go-to song at the moment?
I mean, Tupac. I love the song "Crazy." I love "Hold Your Head." But Jeezy "Live and Die," which is so it's very similar to Tupac's "To Live and Die in L.A.," but it's Jeezy's version. And I listen to that sometimes on repeat while I'm working out and just like keep just hitting back.
I don't blame you. You guys even named your cat Tupac, right?
Yeah, and then I have 5 cats. Another one's name is Machiavelli. One of these little guys too. Yeah.
I don't blame you, man. But a lot of the times on Instagram, on your story, I see you posting a lot of old matches. And what are some matches you would recommend to people?
I would definitely recommend. I'm very grateful for that last year, my body of work. Getting back to the NXT stuff, Takeover with Neville, the 4-way with Neville, Breeze, and Sami Zayn and myself.
That was great. I always go back and watch that, man.
The other night, I had a friend here, and I showed him, not like a super hidden gem, but maybe a bit of a hidden gem for that time frame and for me. But I had a singles match with Adam Rose on one of the episodes of NXT that I was very proud of. I remember, I guess a little inside baseball. I remember beforehand one of the producers telling me that they wanted to see like an aggressive side out of Adam Rose, and he and I had a good relationship. And I say we have a good relationship. And I told him, hey, they want to see you be a little bit aggressive, so like I'll bring it, and I want you to bring it back to me, and don't worry about it. You're not gonna hurt me. And I think I actually almost kind of knocked him out at the end with the apron kick. I don't know if he dropped his chin or I just took too much of a step in. But anyway, I kind of catch him a little bit.
Yeah.
But I watched that the other day. I'm pretty proud of it. Obviously, my stuff with Cesaro, it's so fun.
So great, yeah, man. You guys had great chemistry. I think out of everybody that Cesaro was paired up with, I think you guys stood up the most because, you brought that different element to the table. Cesaro was this, Cesaro was like a freak of nature, and you bring this crazy, old school style, and also, with some of the new stuff.
Yeah.
And having Nattie there, that combination, it was so cool to see.
Yeah, and I think with Cesaro, obviously he's had a lot of success with a lot of different tag partners, and I think what kind of made us a little bit different, maybe than some of his other partners, is also just the size difference between me and him. Cesaro and Shinsuke are similar size in terms of height. Cesaro and Sheamus, same thing. Cesaro and Swagger, same thing. To a varying degree. We're I'm 5'10", and Cesaro's 6'3". It's maybe 6'4", and so he's half a foot almost taller than me.
Yeah, he's a big dude.
So that's a big discrepancy, but we were able to use that to our advantage, and I don't know. I think it's maybe just provided a different maybe flavor, a different twist on Cesaro's stuff, because the guy is unbelievable. I could pair Cesaro with my PlayStation controller, and they'd be a great tag team. So.
I agree, but I got two fan questions, and one of the first ones are this question comes from Justin, the Wrestling Classic. His question was, on the WWE Network, we've seen them drop a special documentary on Lana, and we see you and Nattie help train Lana, actually. But also on social media, we see you train the Singh Bros down in Tampa, and of course helping out other talent backstage, whether it's in the ring and just helping them out in general. But his question was, do you and Nattie see yourselves opening up a wrestling school in the future sometime?
It's definitely something I put a lot of thought into, and that I continue to put a lot of thought into. I think eventually, I would say that my answer would be yeah. Eventually, I will open up probably a wrestling school. Obviously, the timing is a little weird in terms of just the world is in a weird spot.
Yeah.
Still, we're still in a weird spot. So it would be right now, everybody that comes to the ring, we're all tested all the time. So there's that. I wouldn't want to put anybody kind of in harm's way of somebody's not tested and we're coming and training, and it's say a bunch of new students and but when things get a little bit more normal, it's definitely something I'll definitely like I said, I put a lot of thought into it already, and I definitely my answer, I guess, it would be yes. It's just I don't know exactly when I plan on doing that, or hey, I'd have to sit down and then really break down kind of the curriculum and how I would do it. There's so many different ways, Lance Storm. Same thing as I said about working out and things like that, and wrestling. I take ideas from everybody and kind of what I know. And Lance Storm, for instance, he ran his training would be 3 months. When you signed up, you were with him for 3 months, and be 5 days a week, and then you kind of graduated, and then you're kind of on your own. And there's something definitely to that works. And the way the dungeon was structured was once you paid your tuition or whatever, obviously the house ended up selling in 2004. Yeah. But prior to that, it was kind of a lifetime membership. If you left, I saw guys in the dungeon leave for 2 years and then come back kind of unquestioned and just come back and just start training again.
Yeah, because in the dungeon, they would go, full speed, 100%. Yeah. It wasn't a joke, man. It was real.
Dude, I saw some of my favorite dungeon stories are just first was these two guys don't know each other whatsoever. One guy's from Ireland and the other guy's from Scotland. But yeah, one guy came in. We had practices Wednesdays, Saturdays, and Sundays at that time, and this guy literally flew in across the world from Scotland. He got there maybe the day before, so maybe on Tuesday. He's there Wednesday. He watched the practice. He watched it, got on the mat. Bruce Hart got him to come on the mat. He introduced himself, said who he was, where he's from, blah, blah, blah. He's a wrestling fan. Dude, the next morning he flew home. The next morning he flew home. He didn't.
That's
He stood on the mat, so there was
Mhm.
that. But otherwise, he didn't get on that dungeon mat. He
Mhm.
stood on there to introduce himself, and he was on the first flight home in the morning. This Irish guy, like maybe 6 months earlier or a year earlier, or sorry, later, exact same thing. Exact same thing.
Yeah, I think like the dungeon was so like I think even mentally it was so grueling because like the Wrestling with Shadows documentary they kind of like showed it and stuff and like you can see like Stu putting in people in like these headlocks and like their entire like eyes would like turn bloodshot red and it's like
Yeah, I remember Stu doing that to Morrow Ronaldo actually.
oh wow really
Yeah. So Morrow,
oh
I don't
my
remember if we had to film. It might have been after Stampede Wrestling TV taping.
goodness.
I mean, I think I'm pretty sure Morrow doesn't do an episode of the show with his eyes all bloodshot. But I remember coming into the kitchen and seeing Morrow, who'd been had some holes demoed on him, and he had
Yeah.
the blood vessel eye, where your eye is so red,
It gets
like
so
the
red, yeah.
whole eye white is red. Like
Mhm.
you're not hurt, but it's just like a
But it's just red,
weird
yeah.
thing. Yeah.
But like that was the norm, right? Like that was what was like real to these guys. But like now you're just like, it's so much different, and you see those like differences and those similarities, and like it's pretty
Sure.
cool when it comes together.
That's what I love about like that Owen and Ken Shamrock match from the dungeon. Like that match is really
Yeah.
in the dungeon, and you get a sense of like they're very creative in that match, man. I love that match. I wish I had been there. We were in I was in Spain with Harry and his sister George and his mom Vanna and Davy Boy. We were in England and in Spain at the time, so we weren't there for that pay-per-view. I just remember like watching it in Spain at like 3 a.m. and just like being homesick almost, like, oh man, and just seeing like.
Mhm.
But I like it when people watch that match. You're like, I've had people come up to me and be like, was the mat really that hard? Like I watched that match and it looks like there's like no give to it. It's like, well, yeah, there's none down there.
It's
man.
none, yeah.
You learn how to do this stuff right down there. I'm telling you.
100%. Like like it's all about those battle wounds and whatnot.
Mhm.
That's the way it is. But the
Yes.
second question comes from Mo, aka Kid Chocolate.
Yes.
His question was, what are your thoughts on the Alberta wrestling scene at the moment?
So the truth is, I'm a little bit detached from the Alberta wrestling scene at the moment. I'm just so like consumed with our own product and my own. Yeah, like for example, like Mondays I'm at Raw, Fridays I'm at SmackDown, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and maybe Sundays I'm in my ring. So like that's 5 days of the week right there. Of course, I know like I trained Michael Richard Blaze, who I think is super talented, and he's one of those guys that just a matter of time before he kind of catches his break. He is very talented. Obviously, Mo Kid Chocolate is very talented. He's someone that I've really we're very good friends. We're very good friends, and then I was at a PWA show and watched him wrestle, and I was kind of going in with an open mind, but I already liked him, so I was kind of going in I was like almost tricking myself, like, I didn't want to have any kind of preconceived notion, so I just was like, I'll just in my mind think that Mo's probably not very good, like maybe he's okay, but he's still green, and so, but then I watched his match and I was like, oh damn, I was like. In a great way. And I was like very pleasantly surprised. He was so much better than I thought. I didn't want to go in thinking he was like
he was great.
And then all of a sudden he was lower. So I tricked myself and went in the other way. And I was very surprised in a great way. And I was happy. I was actually more happy than surprised. I was happy that this guy that I really liked outside of wrestling was also like a very good wrestler. So otherwise, Brandon Van Danielson's another guy that I train. I'm very proud of him. He's a very talented wrestler. But otherwise, I don't know a ton of Alberta guys. Obviously the ones that I wrestled with. Some of them, for the most part, I think most are kind of wrapping it up or have wrapped it up. But like all those guys that I came up with, like. All very talented and like driven guys. Like we had a great crew of guys, and that's what like
Mhm.
you know, you're only as good as your tools, and you're only as good as like it's such a, now it's said all the time, like iron sharpens iron, but like
Yeah.
I needed for me to be good, I needed all these other guys to be really good to
You need to
push
be with the
me,
best. Yeah.
even if they don't know they're pushing me. I'm in my own little competition with them, so they're pushing me.
100%. 100%. I think that's the way it should be done. You know, if you let me just take this for example. There's this triple threat match that I always go back and watch because it's such a great match, and it's with Cesaro, yourself, and Dolph Ziggler. You know, that triple threat
Yeah, man.
intercontinental match. Like, you know, three of the best at the time, and you guys were like the workhorses, right? And you guys were the best. So I think you guys, you know, have these different dynamic, you know, styles, like, and you can base that off each other. Like, that just makes for magic. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And it's
I'm
great.
so proud of that match. I love that match. Funny enough, I wrestled Sami's again, like that Workhorse one card. I wrestled Sami Zayn about an hour before that match on main event. We have a two-segment match on main event, myself and Sami Zayn, and then I have that triple threat, which is a 3-segment triple threat match. And I like, so that day, that was like the first time. No, I did that back. I think we did it one other time, but we did TV in Liverpool. We did TV in Liverpool that day, and the crowd was like kind of not responsive to other things on the show at one point.
Yeah,
and we didn't know this. We didn't know this. So we're out there just like, I'm having. I don't know that I've ever. I mean, I probably had like as much fun in other matches as that one. That one is like, that's one of the top in terms of like, I just remember something that I've realized that I'm good at. I'm good at living in the moment.
Yeah.
And in that match, it was one of those times I was really able to live in the moment and like enjoy it as it's happening. It's always easy to enjoy things after and almost nostalgic kind of feelings, but
yeah, I know what you mean.
I've realized that I'm good at living in the moment, which sometimes can be a bit of a hindrance too. Like, you know, in 2011, if I feel like I'm not creatively, you know, being utilized, then I'm in that moment, and I'm gonna dwell on it because I'm in that moment.
100%.
I spoke about this about FCW too. Like, I enjoyed my time in FCW. I was there for 2 years. And I enjoyed it, but I didn't enjoy it later on, just looking back on it. I enjoyed it while I was in it. I like I said, I was able to kind of live in the moment and enjoy the moment, and I was able to kind of take it for what it was.
100%. 100%. I think sometimes, you know, you gotta be in that moment and you gotta remember it as it's happening, because then it's like this. Let's say you're wrestling, you remember that match from how it went from your way, but when you go back and watch it, you're like, wait, I can point this out and this out. It's a totally different perspective, right? I think perspective plays a big part. You know what I mean?
100%, man.
Yeah, man. But, you know, final question. This is a different type of question. Recently we heard that Harry Smith, your former tag team partner, you know, he left MLW. Where do you see him going? But do you also see him coming back to WWE in the future?
Man, I've been trying to convince him to come back for a very long time, man. I've never left. I'm waiting on this guy to come back. He's funny. He's an interesting. He's always been this way his whole life. And you know, it's all the credit to him. He kind of always, again, I mean this in a positive way. He marches to the beat of his own drum, and he kind of does what his own thing, and he doesn't. He's not easily swayed, which I really like about him. It's not like I just talked to him one day and I'm like, hey man, come back here, and then he goes, okay, and then just like, you know, comes back, and then a month later he's unhappy. He weighs everything out, and he puts a lot of thought into kind of everything that he does. And I know obviously, you know, that like the way the world has changed these last 9 months has affected him in terms of he just hasn't really been wrestling very often. Not until the last little bit. He had a couple matches finally, and he's supposed to go to Japan and stuff, and those plans got, you know, obviously altered.
Yeah.
But he's still been doing a lot of his grappling training, which he like that. My recommendation is like, do not grapple. If you like yourself, do not grapple with Harry. I recommend. I I mean, if you have a lot of pride, it's not going to end well. It's not.
It's like the dungeon bear, right? Like,
oh man, he's too strong, and he's so knowledgeable when it comes to submissions. I remember him as a kid, like all of a sudden, like almost like a switch went off, and he like became really obsessed with like submission wrestling and grappling, and I thought maybe he'd kind of, I guess, like kick out of it, but like no, he's still.
It sticks with some people.
Like,
yeah,
he trains all the time, and he shows me videos and stuff. And so where he ends up, I honestly in this moment, I don't know. But I recorded a thing for who knows when that comes out. But I recorded for WWE Icons or something.
Oh, really?
On the network for Davey Boy. And they asked me about Harry, and I said, like, hopefully when this comes out, he's back here.
He's back here, yeah.
The sky's the limit with him. He's 6'5". He's third generation. I believe he's gone. I believe he's been gone way too long.
100%.
Not for 9 years now. But I think in those 9 years, I think he's found himself. I think he's changed a lot, and I think the company's changed a lot. And I think it could be if everything aligns right, it could be great synergy. And I mean, man, like, we have so many different like branches now. Like there's Raw, there's SmackDown, both are awesome, but there's also NXT, and with Harry, there's also NXT UK. There's so many different options for this guy, and maybe he kind of goes and takes over. Like, for example, like NXT UK, then he goes to NXT and maybe he goes and like starts conquering these things.
Conquering all these things, yeah. You never know, man.
I would love for him to come back, but I guess more than anything, just whatever's, I guess, going to make him happy.
100%. I think that's what it comes down to at the end of the day, kind of put your priorities straight. But, I want to thank you for taking the time to do this,
my pleasure.
Yeah, where can we find you on Instagram?
On Instagram, I'm at TJ Wilson 711. That's my birthday, and it happens to be a pretty easy famous store. So everybody, I've had a few people ask, like, why is it 711? Like, well, first I would like if I could just be TJ Wilson, but that was taken. Yeah. So I just threw 711 on there because, like I said, it's my birthday and whatever. So that's Instagram.
Absolutely. Where can we find your supplement coming on Instagram? Is it just Workhorse Fitness?
At Workhorse Fitness. Workhorse Fitness. Maybe at Workhorse Fitness Products. Man, I don't know why I'm so bad at that right now.
It's all good. But yeah.
I know at one point, like our website, it was Workhorse Fitness Products, and then it turned to Workhorse Fitness. So I think the Instagram is in Workhorse Fitness Products. I know I sound like an idiot right now for not knowing.
You're good, man. But thank you so much. And yeah, man, take it easy.
Daniel, thanks a lot, dude. Appreciate it.
No worries, man.